Hi, I'm Jess Damuck, and today I'm making a recipe for my new book, Salad Freak. That's perfect for Passover or anytime, really. Today I'm making a Matzo Fattoush, which is my spin on a traditional fattoush, which is usually made with pita bread. Mine is made with matzah, which is a really great way to use up any leftover extra matzah you might have. And it's just perfectly crunchy and delicious. So simple. I'm just putting a little egg wash on the matzah. And this is great. I feel like I always open up my matzah early and it gets really stale. And you can use really stale matzah for this. It's gonna crisp up in the oven so nicely. And then I'm gonna sprinkle it with a little bit of everything bagel seasoning. But I'm always looking for any excuse to use everything bagel seasoning. So good. And a little salt. I'm just gonna put these guys in the oven for about 15 minutes, flipping them once, just to make sure they're nice and crispy on both sides. What makes a good salad dressing? First of all, it has to be homemade. Second of all, I like it to be really punchy, and that means using fresh citrus juice, and that's like you're squeezing it right into the dressing, and maybe a combination of citrus and vinegar for extra tanginess. And now I'm gonna make the vinaigrette. And this is one of my favorite vinaigrettes. It's also why I love serving this at Passover. I'm using pomegranate molasses, which is super tangy and punchy. And it's really nice to cut through some of the heavy flavors you might have on your Passover table. And I'm also gonna add the juice of 1 lemon. I really don't like measuring my lemon juice. I like to just use whatever lemon I have on hand and then adjust the seasoning accordingly. Okay, so I'm whisking these guys together, and then I'm gonna slowly add about 1/4 cup of olive oil while I'm whisking. And this is where you really have to taste it, because you might have had a huge lemon or a little tiny lemon, and salt is gonna make all the difference here. You can do this with a spoon too. Okay, so I kind of know where to get started. So good. And that's it. It's so easy. I'm just gonna set this aside while I get my vegetables prepped. Okay, now I'm gonna start cutting up the vegetables. And one thing that you will notice in my book is there are some styling tips throughout, because I've been a food stylist for a million years, so I wanted to share some of my secrets. And how you cut every vegetable matters. That's how your salad's gonna look, just like it does in the picture. I cut my onion down the center this way, and then I make these little radial cuts along the lines that are just naturally in the onion. And I get these like very pretty little slices like this. And if you're still working on your knife skills, this is a great opportunity to use your mandolin, which is one of my favorite kitchen tools. But you don't have to go too crazy with how thin they are. And if raw onion is a little too much for you, you can soak these guys in a little bit of ice water for just about 10 minutes to mellow out that flavor a little bit. I'm using little Persian cucumbers, which I really love. If you can't find them, English cucumbers are totally fine. And I'm also gonna use some cherry tomatoes, but you could throw some radishes in there. Keep it crunchy and really fresh. And I'm cutting the cucumbers into rounds. Sometimes in the book I say to cut them on a bias, which is just a diagonal. And you can do that if you want to, but I think rounds look really pretty in this recipe. And then I'll save all the ends over here as a snack. Okay, and then the cherry tomatoes just get sliced in half. This is always a good test to see if your knife is sharp. This one is. And I like to use cherry tomatoes because regular tomatoes are not in season during Passover, but cherry tomatoes always taste pretty good year-round. All right, I'm gonna finish cutting this giant bowl of tomatoes, and then I'm gonna show you how to make another Passover recipe for Charoset. Even if you don't think you're a fan of salads, I truly believe there's something for everybody in this book. There's a lot of fruit salads, a lot of things without lettuce. There's really something for everybody. I'm gonna make my natural wine Charoset. This is a recipe that actually isn't in the book. It's a little bonus. It's pretty classic, but my little twist on it uses a really nice wine. And my rule of thumb when I'm cooking with wine is I really don't like to cook with wine that I wouldn't drink. You know, whether you're braising a brisket, you're making this charoset, whatever you're doing, it doesn't have to be the most expensive wine in the world, but it should be a wine that you would drink. And I like to use a nice fruity kind of funky wine for this. So this is like a cup and a half of that wine, and then I'm gonna add 3 cinnamon sticks. And if there are other warm spices that you like ginger or cardamom, feel free to add them to this. And I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of honey to this mixture as well, just for a little sweetness. I don't have anything against Manischewitz, but I just prefer the taste of something a little juicier and funkier. I'm just gonna let this mixture come up to a boil, then I'm gonna reduce it down to a simmer and let it reduce down to about a half a cup of syrup. And then you're going to need apples. Just like I like wine that I would drink, I like apples that I would eat normally, something with a lot of flavor, and I'm using Honeycrisp today. That is my favorite apple. And you could leave the skin on if you wanted to too. I think it would be pretty, but I just like the way it feels a little bit better without the peel on. And since I turn everything into a salad, I've definitely made my version of Charoset more of a salad. Sometimes it can be more of it's like traditionally more of a paste. I like to eat it with a little horseradish and parsley on a matzo. It's so good. So I'm just dicing these up into nice, not going too crazy, but little dice like this. And I'm gonna do 3 apples in total. Okay, I'm just gonna add these apples to this bowl. I'm getting like this amazing smell from the wine mixture. Okay, and now I'm gonna chop some dates. I usually like to use big, soft, sticky medjool dates, but whatever variety you have. I just moved to California, so there's like a million different kinds of dates. And I'm, again, like rough chop on these guys. Don't go too crazy. This is gonna add a nice little chew and also some nice sweetness. Make sure there are no pits in there. Oh, I wish you could smell this through the camera. Really, it's so good. Okay, and the dates are gonna go right in the bowl with the apple. All right, and this is looking pretty good. It's reduced almost to a half a cup, and I'm just gonna remove this from the heat and let it cool down a little bit. Okay, the wine mixture has cooled, and now I'm going to add it to the apples and dates. It still smells amazing. And I'm gonna add a little salt as well, and mix it carefully. The inspiration behind Salad Freak, I have to say, is probably Martha Stewart. I spent about 10 years working with her in many different capacities, and one of them was making her lunch all the time, which was always a different salad. Martha has a salad in this book, which I don't know if it's her favorite, but we did make it together, which made it special to me. And that's called Martha's Mango and Mozzarella, with fresh mozzarella cheese and mango, lettuces, and just a really simple vinaigrette. If you want to make Martha's mango salad and these delicious salads, pick up a copy of Salad Freak. Okay, and now we're just gonna combine everything for the fattoush. And I have the tomatoes, cucumbers, and onion in this bowl, and I'm adding the vinaigrette. And if you wanted to make this ahead of time, you could actually do everything up to this step and just keep it in the fridge for a couple of hours. I think sometimes the onion, once it soaks up the vinaigrette, is actually quite nice. But you don't want to add your matzo too soon or it will get a little too soggy. Crunch these up into bite-sized pieces. Oh, it's so good. I'm so excited to take a bite of this. I love Passover so much because it's an amazing food holiday. Really brings people together in such a beautiful way. This bowl's a little small. Let's see if I can give it a good toss so everything gets coated. You can do this with tongs. I do everything with my hands, my clean hands. And I'm gonna reserve some of the herbs just to sprinkle on top. I'm using dill, mint, and parsley. If you prefer something else, you can use something else, but these taste really good together. And I'm just seasoning with a little salt and pepper. All right, and now it's gonna go on the platter. And this one is so colorful and beautiful. You don't have to get too fussy when you're arranging. You don't want to leave any of this vinaigrette behind. It's so flavorful. You can just do a little dump to make sure everything gets in. Okay, I'm gonna finish it off with a little bit of sumac, which I know I've said a million times that there's this really nice bright tanginess going on in this salad, but this is really gonna pack a punch. It's like almost like sour candy. It's so tart, it's so good. And then just a couple fresh herbs just to finish it off. And that's it. It's pretty simple. It's gonna make everybody at the Passover table super happy. And now we have to finish the Charoset. There's just one last thing. I really don't like soggy nuts. And so I always toast my nuts and add them like right before I'm about to eat them. But when they've been soggy and sitting there for a while, I don't know. I also always like to crush my nuts by hand. Again, another weird food stylist thing. I feel like when you chop them with a knife, they get these like weird, sharp, jagged edges, but they're much more beautiful if you do it by hand, and it really only takes a second. And always remember to set a timer when you're toasting nuts. For some reason, I always forget, or I think I'll smell them in time to pull them out, but I never do. Lots of burnt nuts. While I'm stirring this up, it's a great time to like this video and subscribe to Food 52 for more great cooking videos like this one. Okay, I'm gonna taste the Charoset first. This is gonna be a hard, messy bite to take, but it's my favorite thing to just put a little bit of horseradish on the bottom and make my little sandwich. Just a little of the Charoset and a little bit of parsley. Now let's see how this works. It's so good. The spicy horseradish with the sweetness of the wine. It's amazing. My favorite part of the Seder plate. And I'm very tempted to just steal a little piece off of this platter before it goes onto the table. It's so good. For a million more recipes just like this one, pick up a copy of my new book, Salad Freak. Thank you so much for watching, and these recipes will be up on Food 52.